All right, so some of us were Christians. Then some of us were Islamic. All right, we practice Islam and were brought. Perhaps most belong to traditional African religions, the Yoruba or others brought. All right, so our religious background is multifaceted here in America. All right, so some of the prophecies per se might apply to some of African Americans, but we cannot say that all the biblical prophecies would apply to specifically to all African Americans. The writer of the Psalms, Psalm 68:31 says, "Princes shall come from Egypt, and Cushite folk shall soon stretch out her hands to God." There has been, I believe, no greater stretch out of Cushite people in her hands to God than the turning of African American folk who had been slaves to Christ and the Christian church. In mass, more African American folk are Christian than anything else. All right. And so there was something in our background of Africa where when we were taught and heard about Jesus in the New World, we identified with Jesus, the true Christ of the Bible, and we held on to Christ, and we shunned and rejected the trappings of white slave masters who tried to use the Bible, and sometimes successfully did, to keep us oppressed. We rejected that. And some of it shows up in the spirituals. We sing, I got shoes, you got shoes, all of God's children got shoes. When I get to heaven, gonna put on my shoes and gonna shout all over God's heaven. Heaven, then it said, everybody talking about heaven ain't going there. Heaven gonna shout all over God's heaven. And that was the message about white slave owners who believed that God justified them in enslaving non-white people, African people, or people of color. We said, you can talk that Bible all you want, but everybody talking about heaven ain't going there, all right? And so it shows up in the slave songs and in other places that we rejected the perversion of the Christian faith, and we held on to Jesus, the liberator of the oppressed.